trip behind the scenes with future country rock blues kings and queens. Discover them first with Palm Mash TV. Palm Mash TV.
Well, hello there. It's Palm Mash TV time again. Thank you so much for joining us. We got another great episode coming up for you in just a moment. But as always, if you haven't had a chance to click that button that says subscribe and hit the bell, and you're always going to get the latest episodes available whenever they are. And you can even leave a comment on the comment section, obviously. And if you're on Facebook, go to facebook.com/Palm Mash TV, which is our official Facebook page, and feel free to follow us there, inbox us, comment on everything you see there. And we'd love to hear from you. And you can email us as well, palmmashtv, all one word, @gmail.com. And it's good if you're a band or a solo artist that want to be on the show. But hey, if you're simply a fan, we'd love to hear from you as a fan as well. And all this is going to be recapped at the closing credits at the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. From Dallas, Texas, we have David Carr Jr. with us today. And he plays the saxophone, and he's got an amazing story to tell us. So we'll get to that in a second. But here, as always, is a quick word from Smile World TV on Roku. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
The types of shows we're seeking. Let us help you share your creativity. For more information, email us at smilepublishing007@gmail.com, or you can visit our website, swtvgetyourchannel.now.site.
All right, it's time for the interview, and with us from Dallas, Texas, we have David Carr Jr. with us today. Thank you for joining us, David.
The pleasure's mine. Thank you.
Okay. And David is a little different than the kind of interviews we do around here. He plays saxophone and does a pretty darn good job on it. And you'll see that in the video coming up in just a minute. How did you realize that you could play it? I mean, did you grow up seeing people playing the saxophone and felt like you wanted to do the same thing? Tell us in your own words, though.
Well, it started with my old man was a tenor player. He was always running late for everything. I love telling the story. I've told it a lot of times. And so he picks me up from school. He's going to what they call a matinee, so it's an early gig. And there's this big old 6'8" brother with his daishiki on and stuff like that, picking his kid up from school, takes me to the club with him. I never been to the club with him. And his band's already playing because he's running late. And this man pulls out a tenor saxophone and proceeds to burn the whole building down. I said, okay, I'm in. I'm doing that.
Okay.
I'm doing that. So that's for the past 48, 49 years. I've been still loving it. Looks like a 12-year-old kid that picked it up.
Oh, okay. So you've only been doing it for what, about 8 or 9 years ago or something like that?
No, I started when I was 12, and I'll be 62.
Oh, okay. You said something about 9 or 10. I guess I
No, I said about 49. About 49 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I mixed that up a little bit. I apologize.
Yeah. I'm an old dude.
Well, I know you'll be making people happy for at least a few more years. So
I hope so. That's the plan. That's the plan. I love my job.
All right. Were there any saxophone players or at least any musicians you grew up with that really inspired you?
One of the main ones after my dad was Grover Washington Jr.
Mm-hmm.
And he passed away several years ago, and at a pretty early age, unfortunately. But he changed the game when it came to so-called commercializing it. I don't even like using that word, but he changed the game, and where it was funk and R&B and a little bit of fusion and jazz all combined. And with all this, it had a lot of energy and power in the music. And that's what intrigued me to do it. And unfortunately, a lot of that has gotten lost over time. Not with me. I'm still doing it the way it was inspired, the way I was inspired, and so that he's one. Hank Crawford, Dave Sanborn, of course. Sanborn inspires everybody. A little bit of Michael Brecker, some of the jazz, a little bit of the jazz guys, Coltrane and Charlie Parker. I've listened, and but I was more guided in the groove oriented, and wanted to see how funky can it get, and when it comes down to a ballad, how beautiful can it be, from saxophone without it sounding like a horn. Try to avoid it sound like a horn, let it sound like a voice, and vocalize the expression, without words.
Okay, yeah, well, like you mentioned, Grover Washington, yeah, he obviously was a legend, and
yeah.
So I can see where you get your inspiration from there. Well, everybody might be watching this right now and say, I want to hear some of your music, maybe on those streaming platforms, or I want to follow you on the social media sites. Why don't you tell everybody the lowdown on that so they can go do that?
Well, it's Spotify, Pandora, Amazon, iTunes, and of course you can also go to my website and still get CDs. That's the best way to listen to it. And just pretty much any streaming platform, it's available out there. You do a search and you'll find my music streaming. I've got about 14 titles now. Get released my 15th. Actually, I started releasing the 15th. I'm going to be releasing it all year. Started with the song we were talking about earlier that you may be playing. It's called Salient Touch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you did mention CDs a moment ago. Do you have any CDs that they also could invest in? Or
Yes, I do. So if they want those CDs, they can go to davidcarrjr.com and they can order CDs right from my website.
Okay. Well, everybody go to those sites he was just telling you about. I know he's going to fall in love with you for doing that. So, and just a moment ago, you mentioned Salient Touch. I guess that's how the pronunciation of that is, Salient Touch?
Yes.
And what's the story behind that song? I'm sure that's a great story.
It's interesting. That's one of those songs where I had to work on that one quite a bit because the groove started out really nice. And I came up with a great premise for it, but then I got stuck. So put it on the shelf. Wrote some other music, came back to it. It's got to go back on the shelf. It went back on the shelf several times because it was a little bit different. Some of the other stuff I had written. And so I needed to inspire me a certain way. So when I finally got to the end of it, still didn't have a name. And I've got a really dear friend of mine, a musician and serious songwriter named Kirk Lewis. Has been my friend for like 30 years now. He influences me a lot just as an artist. And so he just got up out of the chair. And I'm, Salient Touch. I said, okay, there it is. That's the name I was looking for. That's it. And now I see it. Mm-hmm. But you gotta surround yourself with great minds and other great artists to get inspired by things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought Salient Touch was a very cool name for that song. I just thought that was it.
Okay, well, that's a great story behind that song. It has a nice ring to it, actually.
Yeah, thank you.
And I have heard the song, and it's really great. And I know you out there are really wanting to get into it. We'll get to that in a second. But okay. David, we thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. Thank you so much.
And we'd love to have you back again sometime. Maybe you can just notify me, and we'll see what we can work out on a second interview sometime.
Yeah, because I'll be releasing songs from that album through the rest of the year, and so maybe we'll do another interview around the time I get ready to release the second one or the third one. Who knows?
Okay. Well, that sounds good. Okay, without further delay, here is Salient Touch by David Carr Jr. Don't go away. We'll be right back.